Class example 1, subsequent events. So you got 4.5 minutes reading time. So you are the auditor of Cocoa Pty Limited. Cocoa, a multinational confectionery company with a year end 28 February 2021. So all you would be making a note at this point is the industry that they're in, and multinational, potentially a risk at the financial statement level for foreign regulations. There's your year end. As part of your subsequent events review in April, you inspected the minutes of directors' meetings and came across the following directors' resolution passed on 20 March 2021. So you're going to make a note that this is post-year end. The directors hereby authorize the sale of 800,000 chocolate logs to Take Lots at a reduced rate of R5 per unit. This is as a result of the expiry date looming and Cocoa not confident that they will be able to sell all items on hand before they expire. So just to make a note here, they're selling it because of the expiry date coming up. It's not, they haven't expired yet, so they don't need to be written off, but it's coming up and they don't think that they'll be able to sell, so they've made a note of this. The expiry date didn't change from 28 February to 20 March, so there was no change here. It's just that now all of a sudden they realize that they need to get this sold ultimately in bulk because they won't be able to sell it elsewhere. So here you've got a quantity and here you've got a price that it's being sold at. Your previous audit work performed on inventory indicated that at 28 February 2021, there were 800,000 chocolate logs. So at year end, the quantity was the same at a cost of R7 per unit. So the cost was 7 per unit previously. They've now sold them, so that's the NRV, at R5. And so I can see that at year end, the cost is greater than the NRV. And so there has to be an adjustment because of the inventory requirements. Inventory needs to be recorded at the lower of cost and NRV. At year end, they've got the cost of 7. NRV is the selling price. You can see that those items have been agreed 20 days after year end to be sold at R5. So that is the NRV. So I have got a post-reporting date event because it happened after year end, and it is adjusting because it's got to meet the IFRS requirements for inventory valuation. So required, A, prepare a memorandum. So now just to note your format, must be memorandum, addressed to management in which you suggest the correct accounting treatment in terms of IFRS for the subsequent events identified during your review of the minutes of directors meeting. So guys, this is purely an IFRS question. Talk about accounting for the post-reporting date event. And the second question, assuming management has accounted for the subsequent event as an adjusting event. Guys, this should just trigger some assistance with how you should be accounting for it. Provide the audit procedures you would perform to audit the accounting of the subsequent event. So ultimately, this is to audit the journal entry for the adjustment. Okay, so guys, in terms of A, quickly, you need to talk about the IFRS requirements. So you always have to discuss or prove that it is post-reporting. And you do that by saying 20 March is after 28 February, which is year end. You then need to discuss the theory that there are two types of post-reporting date events, adjusting and non-adjusting, and you explain the two types. Then you can go into this specific instance and you can say, there was no significant change post year end. So it wasn't like the selling price changed because their normal customer liquidated and so they weren't able to sell to somebody for the price they normally sell at, so they had to reduce it. They reduced the price because the expiry date was getting closer. But the same expiry date existed at year end. They know the expiry dates of the products that they manufacture when they manufacture them. So it is an adjusting. There were conditions present at year end. So no change, the conditions were present. And so what can I do? I can say they therefore have to adjust so that they record it at the lower of cost and NRV, which means they're going to have to take or process an adjusting entry where they're going to have to debit a write down and credit the inventory value for the 800 times by 2, 800,000 times by 2, which is the difference between the cost and the NRV. Okay, so I work through proving first that it is adjusting, and then I can discuss the adjusting entry. In terms of auditing this entry now, guys, you've seen the journal entry. There's going to be a date, the amount, the description, so you go and audit that. So, for B, remember, you are going to audit a journal, but there will still be general procedures. So, a general procedure, you can get a management rep letter for the adjustments or post-reporting date events. You can go and trace the journal to the GL, to the TB, to the financial statements to make sure that it was recorded. You can recalculate. You won't do any costing because it's an individual journal, but you can recalculate the specific item. Then it's a transaction, guys. They're recording an adjustment. So I need to go and make sure that it's accurate, that it occurred, that it was recorded in the correct period. So now I can go and get the contract. I can go and inspect that it was authorized for occurrence by both parties. I can go and agree that it was for 800,000 units and the price was 5 Rand and the date was 20 March. So I'm testing the components of the calculation for accuracy and the date for cutoff. Okay, I can go and see that it has been presented in the financial statements. Okay, so let's just quickly have a look at the solutions. For the first one, you prove that it's post-reporting, you discuss the two types, and then you can go into, there was no change, so the conditions were present. Inventory has to be measured at the low of cost in NRV, so there has to be an adjustment to bring it to NRV. There's the entry, and just to note, it should be in the financials. In terms of auditing, just 2 additional points here, saying that first find out how come you didn't identify the NRV at year end. And guys, that's because this happened on the 20th of March and maybe you had done the audit for this before the 20th of March. Okay? But then also you got to consider, is there now going to be any other adjustments because maybe you haven't done enough NRV testing on other inventory items. Other than that, now you audit the actual journal. So see that it's in the financials and it's been disclosed, get a management rep letter, agree the items and the cost to the accounting records, and then test the transaction. Between the two people, it's authorized, the amount, the selling price, the date. Okay, and recalculate the actual adjustment. Alright guys, that is subsequent events. So now into our second topic, going concern.